All right, let's deconstruct what happened with Knoxville, because I think a lot of the lore has gotten lost in the mists of time. It's been memory hold. It's not quite as central to the canon of Knoxville as it should be. Now, I've been doing a bit of journalistic digging. I've spoken to a few eyewitnesses who were there at Knoxville. I've spoken to a few people who were, more than ready to give me a testimony of what occurred at Knoxville. And I've spoken to a few people who don't want Ethan Ralph and Warski to return to their small town to wreak havoc yet again. I think we should perhaps turn, first of all, to how much Warski and Ralph's presence in Knoxville sort of changed the town somewhat, upended the small businesses of the town, caused a great fury amongst the townsfolk, to the point where now they're telling me that they're going to rally a posse if Ethan Ralph returns to Knoxville, to drive him out, to film him, to expose his degenerate actions to the light of day. Where shall we begin? Shall we begin in the Olive Garden? Now, in the Olive Garden, two main events happened that I've managed to piece together. One of those events was Ralph getting completely drunk, so insanely drunk that he's crying and weeping and screaming betrayal. It's Zidane, the former co-host who bailed out a month or so before Knoxville. He's saying, "Zidane, Zidane, Zidane, where art thou, Zidane?" And Zidane has took off. Zidane has lied, right? Zidane has lied about going to college, about getting a job. He's said a great many lies simply to be released from under the thumb of Ethan Ralph. And so he's made his excuses and tuck off. But Ralph at Knoxville couldn't accept this. He thought they could have really, really had a great show. And now he's lumbered with Gator and Bibble and Rand, who might be somewhat trepidatious about what happens in the future. A lot of Ethan Ralph's success, a lot of his guests hinged on the fact that he had Zidane. I think we can all agree. And once Zidane left, all he was left with was Gator, who he treats at Knoxville very, very disrespectfully. He's ordered Gator to wear a mask, to wear this $300 luchador mask, to cover his face, to humiliate and disgrace himself, to ensure that he can't really be on the internet without being a point of derision anymore. That's what Ethan Ralph ensured when he ordered his capo, Gator, to wear the mask. And Gator's protesting. Gator says, "I don't want to wear this mask. I don't see the point in wearing this mask. Why do I have to wear this? I'm one of you too, Ethan Ralph. I'm one of the Killstream crew as well, Ethan Ralph. I'm there every night. I'm there cleaning it up all night." But Ralph, he orders Gator to wear the mask. Because he says, and I quote, this is Ethan Ralph's phrase, "I am the main drive of the show, Gator. Now wear your mask, bitch, and know your place." This has been lost in the ether of time. This great nugget of lore has been lost in the ether of time. Just going back to Shannon also, Shannon Gaines, Gator, the Gator Gamer. It's always Gator time on this channel, on Channel Godwinson. It's always going to be Gator time, Gator. Let's also not forget that after Warski had violated this pinecone Kirsten woman, you could barely even call her a lady. This amorphous shape, a whale, a pine cone. This thought that was served up to Warski upon victory of this fight against Tonka. Upon Warski's winning of the fight, he sullied this whale, this pine cone, this degenerate thought. But Gator's love wasn't necessarily compromised by that. Gator's love was unerring in its power, in its potency, and he desperately tried to move in on Warski's sloppy seconds. Really desperately tried to to get on the action there, to have another go, or to have even a go where Warski had had one previously. I believe the phraseology, and I quote, was, "Andy need never know. Andy need never know." One final nugget about Gator is that he, in between all of the filming we see at Knoxville, in between all of that, whenever Gator's not on camera, the mask is off. He's gasping for air. The mask barely fits him, right? The luchador mask is barely even fitting his face. You know, his own swollen face is breaching out of the mask. The stitching on the mask is becoming very apparent there. It's straining under the weight of his jowls. And so, you know, once Ethan Ralph's commands are no longer effective, keep on the mask while the camera's rolling because I am the star here, Gator, not you. Once those orders don't become as effective as they would be had the cameras were being on, then Gator is gasping for air, the mask is off. It's over. We need to go back to the Olive Garden now. And also what happened in the Olive Garden was a point where I don't think the Olive Garden in Knoxville would want Ralph and co back for another soiree, as it were. Because Ralph got so shit-faced drunk in the Olive Garden there in Knoxville. He, for some reason, and this is pretty based, I won't lie, he decided to, on an infinite loop, to scream, "Daddy, no," over and over and over again. Just picture the scene. A drunken, 5'1", obese alcoholic screaming, "Daddy, no, Daddy, no, Daddy, no," to all and sundry, to the point where Dick Masterson himself is so ashamed that he has to move tables. He's so humiliated and embarrassed by Ethan Ralph's actions that he has to move tables. And that's just at the Olive Garden, right? What happens when he goes to a bar, right? What happens when he visits a bar? Let's talk about what happened when Ethan Ralph visited a bar with his friends. What happened to this bar was that it was review bombed. It was click bombed completely. Every review you can see about this bar and restaurant, whatever it was, has been sullied, has been corrupted, has been manipulated by Ethan Ralph, because he ordered his followers, the followers of the kill stream, to, in fact, follow his actions and review bomb the site, because they kicked him out for being loud, was the official explanation. That was the official explanation given. They didn't like Ethan Ralph being loud and drunk. Well, the fact is, they didn't like him being drunk and sexually obnoxious to the waitress. Ethan Ralph was taking photos of the waitress, of her ass, and posting the photos onto Twitter. There's a reason why the small businesses of Knoxville don't want Ethan Ralph back. This obnoxious drunk with a posse of internet autists in tow. They don't necessarily want the return of that. Now, let's talk about the magic purse. Now, the magic purse has been lost to time. I don't really hear much about the enchanted magical purse that Ethan Ralph acquired from a flea market for $12 to be gifted to his wife, Nora. And upon receipt, I think his wife, Nora, was under the apprehension that it was a purse of great value, one of great monetary value. You know, maybe she was unaware that it was an enchanted purse. Maybe she was unaware that it was imbued with magic and dreams. But the fact remains is that Ethan Ralph lied to Nora about this purse and said it was of considerably more value than it had first appeared when he acquired it for $12 at a flea market. So that's the magic purse. Let's stay in the flea market for a while. Ethan Ralph is acquiring this purse in this flea market. And what do you think he's doing? Well, he's admiring Knoxville. He's admiring the environment around him. He's, again, let's say he's about half a bottle of Maker's Mark deep. So he's fairly coherent. He's looking around for a good bargain there, Ethan Ralph. And he's admiring Knoxville. He's admiring the demographic of Knoxville. And he declares quite loudly, you could almost say he's screaming this at the top of his lungs. He's saying, I could move here. I could live here in Knoxville. because there are no Enslers around. Ethan Ralph's words, by the way. He values Knoxville as it is absent of Enslers, and he's screaming this at the top of his voice. Now, these are all witness testimonials that are coming to me, right? The people who live in Knoxville are telling me this. This is from the posse that are going to be rallied when Ethan Ralph returns with Warski in tow to do this weird fight, which is never going to happen, we know this, but which is going to scam all of you little pay piggies out there out of whatever money you've got left in these COVID-19 times. Let's go further, right? Let's talk about Warski and Coach's dynamic at Knoxville. Now, Warski and Coach seem to have a weird dynamic where after Warski corrupts the pine cone, Coach is on a mission to gather evidence, to gather dirt, to gather compromising details and information on camera, because don't forget, Coach is filming the entire thing for a supposed documentary. He's on a mission as Coach to get whatever compromising details he can on camera about Warski in order to, use it as leverage, use it as blackmail, who knows? But we do know for a fact that all Coach is doing during the entire time at Knoxville is drinking water, sober as a judge, just filming people in order to get compromising details on them so he can snake on them shortly afterwards and get them to what? Pay money for the compromising footage? To what? Beg him, or to bow to him as a king, the Coach King. Maybe that's what Gonzalo's plan was all along, but especially with Andy, after he realizes that Andy has slept with the pine cone, sullied the pine cone, violated the pine cone, Coach is on a mission to get Warski to admit to cheating on his then-girlfriend, Sinead, on camera. He's on a mission to get that admission on camera. And he tries and tries and tries and tries to the point where Warski is so wound up, the retard strikes out. He lashes out, I should say, and gets Coach in a chokehold and holds him there. Coach's life, the neck of Gonzalo, was in the hands of Andy Warski for a few short moments. Andy Warski had the power of life and death over the eternal Chilean. Many have tried prior, Genghis Khan had tried, Marco Polo had tried. Nay, Alexander the Great had once tried to slay Coach Redpill, to make him see justice, to deliver him to his Lord and Master, Lucifer, in the fires below. But Andy Warski had stood in the long line of historical greats that had tried to quell the eternal Chilean. He had the power of life and death. At one mere press, Coach's neck could have snapped, and it could all have been over for the eternal Chilean. Alas, Warski lets him go. And I think at that point the seeds are planted for Coach to fully snake on his friends, his supposed friends in Knoxville. Let's also talk about how many fines and violations of the law that Ethan Ralph racked up whilst he was in Knoxville. I've heard the figure told to me that $2,400 was racked up in legal fines from Ethan Ralph driving drunk, speeding whilst drunk, a great litany of things. He racked up all of these fines and debts, as it were, to the state. And in order to pay these debts, these fines to the state, he instantly, upon the aftermath of Knoxville, he decides to do as many crowdfundings, as many feverish attempts at grabbing your money whilst he himself is reaching at you from the gutter, as he humanely possibly can. So the Ralph machine of taking your money goes into real overload during the immediate aftermath of Knoxville, because he needs to pay off these fines. The man has zero money. He's in the gutter. He's terrorized a small town. And now, they don't want him back. The people of this small town don't want a return of Knoxville. The person who's been telling me a lot of this stuff, he said for an entire weekend he couldn't even go to Walmart without hearing the words Daddy No and Donga Donga Tribe from just random internet strangers that had congregated on Knoxville. Knoxville's a small town. You know, there's not really a great deal of much of anything happening. So I suppose when Ethan Ralph descends, drunken, a mess, a shambles, he descends with his cronies in tow, then I suppose it's going to shake that town to its very foundations, to its very core. Now we need to talk about the strip club called the Mouse's Ear that these people went into and partied hard within, we can say. Ethan Ralph, he spends more on these hookers, more on these stripping whores at the Mouse's Ear strip club than he does on Nora, on the magical purse that he exchanged a cow for. More than anything, right? He's just throwing money and money and money, maybe even thousands, at these strippers. Just ensuring, right? Ensuring that whatever sanctimony, whatever sanctity, whatever province his marriage had within the sacred law of till death do us part was just completely violated, was just completely invalidated, we should say. Ralph didn't respect his marriage enough not to throw thousands at whores instead of his own wife. Also at the strip club, right, we've got Shannon and Coach trying to get in. Shannon and Coach are trying to get in. I think Coach gets Shannon in, right? But perhaps the most compromising detail, and the reason perhaps why the footage of Knoxville's not emerged from the Chilean's vault, is because within this strip club, I mean, the strip club is known, the Mouse's Ear, it's known for not really ratting out these gents to their wives. You know, this is a sanctuary for these people, people who don't respect their marriages, to sort of be degenerates in private. And the strip club doesn't necessarily take to having a Chilean take 4K drone footage of what's going on in that building. So perhaps that's why the footage has not been released, because if Coach were to release it, maybe he'd be facing a lawsuit. Maybe the people would not allow that to happen. Maybe he would be exposed for all and sundry on the CCTV as being somebody who sat at the bar, drinking water, sipping water, the snake in the long grass, watching his friends engage in degenerate acts, watching Warski burying his face in as many strippers as he possibly could. You know, watching Ralph do lines of coke on whoever was available, whatever bit of exposed flesh was available for him to do so.